Hi guys, a fairly ambitious post today. I'm going to do my homemade pizza. For this you need 368 grams of strong flour, 368 grams of 00 flour. If you can get this, it makes a much better pizza dough because it's more elastic, it's a finer flour. Plain flour will do fine if you can't get it. 15 grams of salt, 500 milliliters of water at room temperature, and 3 grams of dried yeast. You can get this about 8 in a pack for €1 in Aldi or Tesco or any of them. What you need to do is add the salt to the flour, add the yeast to the room temperature water, give it a quick mix, and add it to the dry ingredients in your mixer. If you don't have a mixer, you can bring it together by hand. It just takes a little bit longer. It's a little bit messier, but it'll all work the same. Once mixed out on a lightly floured surface, you're going to knead the dough for between 5 and 6 minutes. So just work the dough with the base of your hand until it's elastic and no longer sticky. Lightly flour a large tub or other tray that you might have, and this needs to cold proof this dough. The longer the better. If you can do it overnight, in total it's much better, but first there's a cold proof for 1 to 2 hours, then you'll take it out and divide it and then cold proof it again for another few hours or overnight. I make my own pizza sauce. You can use just passata on its own, but I prefer extra depth of flavour, so I use a half carton of passata, 25 grams of sun-dried tomatoes. They're 2 smart points. And when I prepare garlic, I generally freeze large amounts of it in a silicone ice cube tray, so I just take one out and thaw it for a couple of seconds. So an ice cube of garlic, a half tablespoon of dried oregano, and a good tablespoon of fresh basil leaves if you have them. All these seasonings are optional. You can add as much or as little as you like depending on your palate. Also add a tablespoon of tomato puree. I'm just going to blitz all this up. You can, as I said, season it to suit your own personal taste with less or more garlic. You can add some chili flakes if you like a sauce with a bit of a kick. There's a lot of varied taste in my house, so we tend to have a lot of toppings on offer when we're making pizza. So I have my passata here, I have some jalapenos, some hot and not so hot, I have some sun-dried tomato, semolina flour for dusting the peel, fresh basil leaves, some cooked black pudding, your light mozzarella, some sliced peppers, some ham and cabanossi with some chicken. Now my own toppings plate I do separately, so here I have my 30 grams of mozzarella, my jalapenos, pudding, cabanossi, ham, sun-dried tomatoes, and peppers and mushrooms. You can concentrate on a lot more zero ingredient foods for toppings if you want to keep the SP low. After the second cold proof, the dough is nice and silky now, and you need to divide it up into your individual portions. I had a 160 gram pizza base and it was plenty. It was 9 smart points. You fold the dough over and pinch it into a ball and pinch it on the bottom. Now 200 to 250 gram would be normal restaurant size pizza, and them last 2 pieces I cut here is what my bigger lads would have had, because they prefer the restaurant size pizza. Back into the fridge for 3-4 hours to continue its cold proof or overnight. The equipment I use is a pizza stone that I bought in the local hardware store. It was about €10, and a homemade peel that I made myself out of some box galvanized. But if you don't have this equipment, it's fine, you can just use an ordinary tray. just flour it first. When preparing your pizza, flour your hands, push down at the edges to form a crust, and then pat the dough flat and work it between your hands to stretch it out. If you can get the 00 flour, this dough is quite elastic and it's quite easy to work with to stretch. If you want, you can use a rolling pin, there's no problem at all, just you mightn't get as much rise on the crust. Make sure to leave the dough down on a well floured surface. Make sure your oven is set to the maximum temperature, mine goes to 250, and pop it in for 9 to 10 minutes. 9 to 10 minutes later, be careful, take out your pizza. It should have crisped up nicely. The pizza stone helps cook the base of the pizza in the same way as traditional pizza oven works. You end up with a much crispier crust, and they taste just like you'd get in the Italian pizzeria. This one belonged to the cameraman. He had first dibs on the pizza today. This was my own pizza. On weigh day, it's a nice treat to have a homemade pizza. The points are high, but I allow for it by having a very light breakfast and light lunch, and I really do enjoy my pizza. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed the pizza. Take care, guys.